You posted on Twitter yesterday that you finally dressed up for a podcast or interview, and it was a photo of you and Jordan Peterson.
Yeah.
I want to know how that conversation went. Was it more of a debate or a conversation that's not released yet because it was just filmed yesterday? I'm assuming this is probably going to be released before that. Maybe we could get some teasers.
I didn't expect him to stand up. We got into a physical fight about 45 minutes in, which was crazy. It's hard to say who won exactly because no, I'm just kidding. It was definitely, it went from like conversation to like debate to conversation to debate to conversation. I think I was pretty happy with the level of combativeness. He seems like he's somebody that's able to ratchet it up and then kind of like bring it back a little bit and not be completely unhinged. I'll say there was like a 30-minute section on climate change, which I wish I could have been more prepared for because I was not ready for it to be a debate on climate change. He asked me for an example of like in capitalism, do you know what an externality is?
Yeah.
Okay, so in when you're trying to deal with a policy, you might do a particular thing, or there might be a thing that happens, and there's an external effect that's not accounted for in your system.
Sure.
So like pollution, in my opinion, that's like the go-to good example of an externality, right? If you pollute a ton, you don't have to pay for it, so that's external to your system, and it's not factored into the cost. And as soon as I brought that up as an example, like, oh, well, here's an externality where government can help sometimes, then it was like, okay, well, the WEF and where they're trying to make us eat bugs, and Bill Gates and billionaires and the global elite and the UN are all trying to do this. And I'm like, oh, Jesus. And then we did like a 30-minute thing on climate change. So, yeah.
Why does he go from pollution to the World Economic Forum and all these other places? Like, what is their involvement in that? What is he saying that they're doing that's negatively affecting society? I mean, I get the eating bugs thing. I've looked into this. It seems very interesting. It seems like crickets are a good source of protein.
Oh, boy.
You could feed a lot of people. You disagree?
No, you're going to get these people in your comment section now.
I feel like it's not controversial. It's like this seems like a fact.
I don't know about the crickets. Can you elaborate?
Crickets are like the highest source of protein that you could get. They reproduce.
What does that have to do with WEF?
I don't quite know.
I want you to eat bugs.
Yeah, I guess they're like Bill Gates and the WEF, and this is like some high level. I don't quite know. Is seeming to think that we should force people to eat bugs. Because it's
and that way you'll own nothing and be happy.
Exactly, but it's a way that you could feed the planet. The amount of waste that
methane goes from cows,
exactly from cows or raising meat, is so absurdly high. But you need that for certain vitamins and proteins, and you get the same thing with crickets for a fraction of the cost. You could grow crickets anywhere; they reproduce very quickly. I guess it's the idea.
But we haven't tried this on large scale yet. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, what if we start having these crazy cricket colonies and they start gaining intelligence and then take over the human? We just don't know.
I don't know. I think if you want to solve a lot of hunger, it's probably crickets. It's probably insects.
I think people are going to say, like, come up with like a class problem, you know what I mean? With that, like the people on the bottom are just like, you know, eating crickets.
But you don't
while
look
the
at
people
lobster.
on the top get like.
Look at lobster though. Lobster used to be like the cockroach of the sea. Lobster did not used to be the culinary luxury that it is now.
Crickets are going to be the delicacy?
They could be. We don't know this. But lobster is now a delicacy. And beforehand, it would be like, ew, you eat lobster? That's like for peasants. I'm saying a lot of things have changed.
Interesting.
But what are your thoughts on that?
This is where I'm at right now for political stuff. I think that it's probably true for everything, actually. But you know how you might have like 10 or 15 different beliefs? You might think a thing about climate change. You might think a thing about vaccines. You might think a thing about the presidency. I think people like to have this idea that they have rational justifications for all of their different beliefs. But I think what actually happens is I think there's like constellations of belief systems, and then you just inherit these from whatever social group you're in. And when you go into that social group and you inherit the constellation of beliefs, all of these beliefs kind of sort of implicitly rest on every other belief. And it's not really changeable because if you pull out like one thing, it's like a Jenga tower, it all collapses. So when you talk to somebody, unfortunately, today about a particular subject, because of how homogenous and how huge these like political groups have gotten, I think you can make a lot of predictions about things that they believe about other things, and it all just kind of goes together. So if I ask you, for instance, about what do you think about Andrew Tate? If you think that in Romania, if you think that the charges are trumped up and it's not fair what they're doing to Andrew Tate, you probably also believe that the WF is trying to control your life. You probably also think the UN is like a corrupt organization. You probably think that we should support Russia over Ukraine in the war. You probably support Donald Trump. You probably think the mRNA vaccines were rushed and are making us unhealthy. You probably think like trans people are fake. There's like 20 different beliefs that like everybody inherits just on their social groups. And That's how I feel about, so when climate change comes up, well, obviously this is the ruling global elite billionaire class that's trying to force us to, they'll quote that one article, own nothing and be happy. So we're run our society. They all want us to eat crickets. Yeah, Klaus Schwab. Oh, don't even get me started on him, right? It's always, it's always that type of thing, I think, yeah.